So class, we had already started with the life processes chapter in the previous video. We are continuing with that chapter only, and we are going to complete the nutrition topic in this video. Okay, the topics we had covered in the last video were autotrophic nutrition, right? Now we are going to cover with the heterotrophic nutrition, and in which the holozoic nutrition is the most important part, in which you will study about the amoeba as well as the digestive system and the digestion process take place in human beings. As we talked earlier, autotrophs, it's of two types, photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophics. Now, if we talk about the heterotrophics, the heterotrophics are parasitic, saprophytic and holozoic. Heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition is a nutrition in which an organism cannot make their own food and depending on any other organism, either a plant or any animal, for their food, for their energy resources. They use them as a energy resource. They take them as a food for themselves. Okay. Saprophytic nutrition, the type of nutrition in which the organisms obtain nutrition from the dead and decaying organic matters. Such organisms are called saprophytes. Example, fungi and certain bacteria. Not all bacteria, but certain bacteria also act as a saprophytes, as they depend on the dead and decaying matter. Okay, as you can see in the image, it's a mushroom, right? So mushroom, if you see the name here, agaricus, agaricus is a scientific name for the mushroom. You know this very well, that mushroom is a type of fungus, and we already said the fungus is a saprophyte. And where we get the mushroom, it's in a moisture areas on the dead and decaying matter. It starts growing on the dead and decaying matter. Okay, that's why it is a saprophytic in nature as well, but it's a edible fungus. Parasitic nutrition, in which the two organisms are involved. The first organism which takes up the food from the other organism, that the first organism absorb the food from the second. The first organism will be known as the parasite, and the second organism which gives the food, or from which the first person or the first organism snatch the food, the second organism will be known as host. The second organism will get harmed due to this. Okay, so when we say the first organism, the parasite, and the second organism will be the host, the some examples of the parasites are Plasmodium, liver fluke, Cuscuta, etc. You can see the image of Cuscuta here. These yellow thread-like structures are the Cuscuta here. The green one is the green plant which is making their own food, and the Cuscuta penetrates its roots in the vessels in the xylem and the phloem of the host plant. Okay, you can see the host stem here. The host stem is having the supply of water and food in the from the vessels, and these uh, Cuscuta helps to penetrate inside them and take up the nutrients from them. Holozoic nutrition. In this type of nutrition, the animals take in the solid food through the definite path. The definite path means the whole food is taken inside the body. The digestion is taken place inside the body, not the outside the body. Okay, it involves the number of processes. It depends on the 5 processes. First is ingestion, then digestion, then absorption, assimilation and digestion. The all 5 processes take place in all the type of organism which represent the holozoic nutrition. For example, amoeba and human being. You can see the all type of organism which take inside the food are categorized into the holozoic nutrition, which having the same similar pattern of digestion that is having in the human being. If we go for the amoeba, that is showing the holozoic nutrition, the small particle, the small food particle, like for example, in the picture it indicates the small protist. Okay, they take up as the vacuole, and they form the vacuole and take inside the body, from where they digest the food and remove the waste material. If we talk about the nutrition in amoeba, see, first of all, when we take up the food, the amoeba takes up the food with the help of the indefinite projections, the false feet, we say that those are known as pseudopodia. They takes out their hand-like structures from the cell membrane and form a pseudopodia, and in which they takes up the food. Okay, those food when taken inside by this process, that is known as ingestion, right? The first process of taking the food inside the body is known as ingestion. Okay, but when we talk about the solid food which is taken by the single cell with the help of the pseudopodias in the form of food vacuole, then it is known as phagocytosis. Taking inside, the process of obtaining the food is known as phagocytosis. Okay, now these pseudopodias are then forming the food vacuole. Okay, then these food vacuoles are having the digestive enzymes, some digestive enzymes which help in intercellular digestion. Okay, after the digestion, the nutrients, the complex substances converted into the simple particles, right? The simple particles are now diffused to form a absorption and assimilation of the nutrients. After that, the only the wasted material or the unwanted particles which are left in the vacuoles are thrown outside the body of the amoeba. The thrown out is known as ejection, right? And that is also known as exocytosis. As you see in the image, when the food particle is nearby located the amoeba forms a pseudopodia and forms a food vacuoles to cover the food particle. Okay, then the digestion take place, then the assimilation and absorption take place, and then the exocytosis or the egestion of the waste material take place. Similarly, we are talking about the nutrition in human beings. When we talk about the human being, there is a digestive system inside the human being. Okay, and when we talk about the digestive system from mouth to anus, the system of the where the food enters and the food moves, that whole pathway is known as alimentary canal. Okay, what is the difference between digestive system and alimentary canal? It is the pathway. The alimentary canal shows the pathway of the food. Okay, but the digestive system also includes some accessory glands or the digestive glands which help in the digestion. Although the food doesn't enter in these glands, like for example liver, the food doesn't go in liver, but these secretions from the liver help in digestion of those food content. Okay, alimentary canal. These are the some organs through which the food particles pass through. Okay, the first is mouth. The mouth consists of the buccal cavity, teeth and tongue. These are those parts of the body through which or the organs which touches the food. Okay, like for example in mouth there are the salivary glands as well. Okay, but the salivary gland secretes the saliva which come inside the buccal cavity and mixes with the food with the help of tongue. Okay, but the salivary gland itself doesn't touch or come in contact with the food. Okay, so we are saying the alimentary canal is having the first mouth, then the pharynx, then the esophagus, that is the food pipe through which the mouth is connected with the stomach. Okay, then the stomach, then small intestine. The small intestine is consists of the duodenum, jejunum and ileum, then large intestine, then rectum and then anus. Okay, when we say digestive glands, that is the accessory glands which does not come directly in the contact with the food but help the digestive system to work. Okay, it helps in digestion only. Okay, first is salivary glands. They are present or located nearby to the buccal cavity. They release the saliva which enters the buccal cavity to mix with the food. Okay, the saliva is containing the salivary amylase. What is the function of salivary amylase? The salivary amylase is the enzyme which help in the breakdown of carbohydrates. The larger carbohydrates broke down into the simple substances in our mouth only. That's why even a chapati, any tasteless material, even after some time in the mouth, after chewing or mixing with the saliva, it starts getting sweetened. Okay, so that is due to the presence of or the breaking down of carbohydrate into simple sugar. So that's why we are having the taste of the sugar in our mouth. Okay, the next is gastric glands. These glands are the present inside the wall of the stomach. They contain the HCl, pepsin, mucus and gastric lipase. The main is HCl, pepsin and mucus. Okay, then the third is pancreas. The pancreas is present behind the stomach. Okay, the pancreas secretes the pancreatic juice, contain trypsin, pancreatic amylase and small amount of gastric lipase. So as you can see, the pancreatic juice contain most of the enzymes. The trypsin is for the proteins, the amylase are for the carbohydrates and lipase for the lipids. So they contain all the three enzymes which help in digestion of all the three components of our food. Okay, then after that, when we say liver, it releases the bile. After that, intestinal glands, the intestinal juices are released. The juice that intestinal juice in the intestinal gland is known as succus entericus. You can see the diagram here. The diagram shows the digestive system: the mouth, the buccal cavity, the tongue, the esophagus, stomach. Then stomach enters the small intestine. Between the small intestine and stomach, there is a one sphincter known as the gastric sphincter, which controls the backflow of the food from small intestine to the stomach. Then from small intestine, it enter the digestion, the basic digestion take place into the small intestine and the absorption take place here only. The food left, the remaining food or the waste material left moves into the large intestine, and from large intestine it moves to the and it stores into the rectum area, through which it removes out of the body with the help of anus. It also controlled by the anal sphincter here. Okay, so now when we say the liver and the pancreas, both are having the secretions. The liver secretes the bile and the pancreas releases the pancreatic juice. Both the secretions enter the small intestine for the absorption. But when we say liver, liver secretes the bile all the time, but the food doesn't enter our mouth through the mouth all the time. We do not eat every time, right? So when we say the bile juice that is released from the liver is released, then it does not go directly into the small intestine, but it's stored into the gallbladder. Okay, gallbladder is a leaf like structure which help in the storage of the bile only. Then from bile it enters the small intestine for digestion. Now let's study about all the parts or all the organs of our digestive system one by one. Right? First of all, the intake of the whole food is taken place inside the mouth. After that, chewing and grinding of the food is done by teeth. We take up the food, we bite the food, we grind the food with the help of teeth. Then what is the function of tongue? It helps in rolling of the food, tasting of food, rolling of the food, mixing of the food with the saliva, right? And the tasting of the food and swallowing and pushing down of the food. When the tongue is present, it plays a great role in movement of the food inside our body. See, after the mouth, from the esophagus till the anus, there is a movement that take place inside us. Okay, that is a muscular movement with the help of muscles. As you studied in the ninth class, there are three types of muscles, right? So there are the unstriated muscles which moves with their own will. They work on their own, right? So those muscle, the whole digestive system is made up of those type of muscles, these smooth muscles, and those muscles always move and helps in the movement of food. Okay, but in the mouth there is no such type of muscle is present, that is controlled by our own will. So the tongue is taking that role of pushing down the food inside the esophagus. After the esophagus, there is no need. We are having the movement of the peristaltic movement. We say that is a peristaltic movement of the muscles which take place in the contraction and expansion, so that the food can go in its own whole pathway. Okay, so now when we say in the mouth, there are the teeth and tongue which help in the mixing and grinding and of food with the saliva. Now salivary glands were there which are present outside the buccal cavity, not inside the buccal cavity, but nearby of the buccal cavity, and releases the saliva. Okay, these saliva are having the salivary amylase. These are the enzyme which help in digestion of complex sugar into the simple sugar. Complex sugar means the starch. Okay, they divide the starch, the whole chain of glucose, they divide the starch into the simple sugar form so that it can be broken down. It starts breaking down into the mouth only. So if we say where the digestion starts, we say that digestion is breaking down of the complex food. Okay, so where the digestion starts, it starts in the mouth only. After this esophagus, there is no any sort of digestion take place inside the esophagus. It is only and only purely the connection between the mouth and the stomach. Okay, and during that connection, there is only a single movement that helps in the connection and the movement of the food from mouth to stomach, that is a peristaltic movement. After this, when we talk about the stomach, in the wall of the stomach, these are the gastric juices which secretes with the help of gastric glands. In the wall of stomach, there are the gastric glands, small cell-like structures which act as a gastric glands which secretes the gastric juice. Inside the gastric juice, these three main components are present. First is pepsin. The pepsin is the enzyme which helps to break down the proteins, okay, the complex protein into the simple amino acids. Then after that, the HCl is a chemical, and it's very dangerous, it's very harmful. It's even 35% of HCl concentration is present. Even we say that if we put a hand in this HCl, we will get burned, but our stomach will not get burned. Why so? Due to the presence of mucus. This mucus prevent our stomach. The mucus is present in all over the wall. As we paint the walls, right, in the home, when we talk about the room, we paint the walls. Similarly, the stomach walls are layered by the mucus, so that the stomach wall do not get in contact with the HCl present inside the body. They are not having any connection between the wall and the HCl. So HCl is required, and the mucus is helping it to do the function. Now what is the function of HCl? Why we are needing the HCl? Because pepsin is only work in the acidic medium, and we know that HCl is the acid. It provides the acidic medium to the pepsin to work. As well as second function is that when we take up the food is from the external environment. There are the many microorganisms, and there are many enzymes which enter our mouth through our mouth very easily. So those enzymes can easily be die out or can be removed from our body with the help of acid. So that's why the acid is necessary here. The HCl is necessary here. After this, when we say small intestine, the small intestine is having the intestinal enzymes which are from the specifically from the walls there of the intestine. The intestinal enzymes are having the carbohydrates which break down the carbohydrate, fats and proteins. These enzymes can be either from the pancreatic juice or from the intestinal wall itself. Okay, the bile juice is not having any sort of enzyme. So they are having the enzymes from the intestinal juices or from the pancreatic juices. These enzymes help to divide the carbohydrate, fats and proteins. But how it will divide? Carbohydrate divides into the glucose. The simplest unit is glucose. When many glucose form a chain, it forms a carbohydrate. I'm expecting you know this thing. Okay, then when we say fatty acids or glycerol, when they combine and form a chain of many fatty acids and many glycerol, that forms a fats. So the when we say fats is divided or broken, then it will specifically form a fatty acids and glycerol. After that, many amino acids connect and form a the linkage and forms a protein. Then when we say the protein is broken down, is divided, then it forms a amino acid again. Now, when we say the small intestine, first is the enzymes which act on the carbohydrate, fats and proteins that help in digestion. Now, second most important function is, see, the whole digestion completes in the small intestine. First digestion take place in mouth, the second digestion take place in stomach, that is of protein, then the third digestion take place in the small intestine of the whole three things, the carbohydrate, fats and proteins. But when the digestion is completed, now we are having the simple substances, the nutrients which we have to absorb. Now where the absorption take place? In the small intestine only. In the small intestine, there are the finger-like projections, the villi are present, and those villi are help in absorption of food. Okay, as you see the images here, the left side, the bottom one, is showing the cross section of the small intestine. Okay, here is the lumen of the small intestine, and the wall of the small intestine is having a finger-like projections, a million of finger-like projections known as the villi. You can see the topmost image as well. The what is the function of villi is to increase the surface areas for the absorption, for more absorption. This is the main function of the villi. You can see this cross section. After that, in the cross section, you can see that there are the blood vessels present. After the absorption of the nutrients enter inside the blood vessels here, and in this blood vessel, through blood vessels, they transported into the whole body for the cells to get the energy. Then what is the role of bile here? When we say the bile juices are also entering the small intestine. So what is the role of bile here? When we say the bile, the liver releases the bile. The main function of bile is to break down only the big molecules, the big bubbles of the fats. You know that the fat is a heavy component, and the enzyme when acts on the fat, it takes much time. Okay, when there are the see, for example, let's take if it is a big football like structure. Okay, the enzymes or the surface area of the football is more, or if we cut the football into many pieces, then the surface area will be more in the small pieces, right? So the bile is doing the same thing in the fat molecules, that fat molecules are broken into the small global molecules. They are forming from the large global molecules to the small molecules, so that the surface area increases for the enzyme to act. Okay, and this breaking down of the big molecule into the small molecule is known as emulsification. Okay, now what is the when we say the secretions from the pancreas, that is pancreatic juice, is containing the two main component, the major components are the trypsin and pepsin. What is the function of trypsin? Trypsin is helping in dividing the protein. Let's say the protein is divided into the amino acids, and the lipase helps in dividing the fats. The fats divide into the lipids, that is the fatty acids, you can say. Okay, after that, all the components are already digested, all the nutrients are already absorbed. Now what is left is the waste material having the water content in it. So we know that we need a water as well. When we drink the water, what will happen? It will not absorb in small intestine, it will absorb in the large intestine. So what is the function of large intestine? It takes up the food water from the food directly. If even in the there is a moisture content in our food as well, right? So in whole food content or in our whole diet, the water is absorbed in the large intestine. In the large intestine also there are the villi like structures present as in the small intestine. So the the large intestine absorbs the water, and then the only material, the solid material which is left, is the waste material, which is stored in the rectum area and wait for the anus to be removed out. So we had completed till nutrition part. We had wholly covered the nutrition, the autotrophic nutrition in the last video, and in this video we had covered with the heterotrophic nutrition. In the next class we will start with the respiration.